everyone, or let me just say hello. My name is Dr. Tumsia, and you're welcome to the first episode of our another online discussion titled Leadership Nuggets with Farmalat Outliers. So let me just give like a brief introduction of, why we're here today. So Farmalat, sometime last year, Farmalat, found it very necessary to recognize veterinary students in different capacities, other than just the academic excellence, but to also recognize individuals for their leadership, creativity, and innovative skills. So we started with the first university, which happens to be Michael Ocquara University of Agriculture, Umudike, where we, a voting process occurred amongst the graduates, right? And, they voted for 3 individuals who they felt, met those, there were these few set standards in terms of leadership, creativity, and innovation. So 3 of these participants were interviewed and 1 person emerged the winner. So we call these people our outliers, because why they are outliers is because, they're different. Different in the sense that they've been acknowledged differently, because the norm in our schools is to recognize best in pathology, best in pharmacology, best in, So leadership and creativity is not something that has been acknowledged over the years, right? And we're currently struggling to change the narrative in the animal health sector in Nigeria. So we definitely need a new crop of leaders, to take charge, to be able to, change the narrative generally. So for me, if you ask me, some people will say leaders are born, but for me, I would say leaders are made just like anything else. I would like to welcome our first outlier. She is the pioneer outlier. I call her, what do I even call you? Outlier emeritus. That's what I call her. So she's the first. So we have with us today, Dr. Nancy Enieto. She is the Farmalat outlier from Michael Ocquara University of Agriculture, Umudike, as I mentioned earlier. Dr. Nancy, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tumsia.
Yeah, it's nostalgic in the sense that it reminds me of when we interviewed you, when you came on board, but let me not jump the gun, right? So of course, our content for today is leadership nuggets from Farmalat Outliers. So we're just going to find out how they were able to do these things. And when we talk about nuggets, basically we're talking about all those tips, right? All those tips that could help upcoming veterinary students who aspire, to get recognized in this capacity. So we're just going to we're going to meet you. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about, we're going to go down memory lane, how you were able to exhibit this leadership character, how you're able to carry yourself in that capacity, regardless of how daunting the veterinary school is. Like we all know, I think it's common everywhere in the world, but you still were able to be a leader. You were able to lead your colleagues through lots of victories, lots of trials, and what have you not. So Dr. Nancy, may we know you? I know I mentioned already, introduced your university, but can we hear from the
hospital? Dr. Tumsia, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Your line is cracking.
Hello? All right, I think the network is also facing the full subsidy removal. All right, so while we await Dr. Nancy to get back on, so we're going to be meeting Dr. Nancy. We're going to be discussing what leadership means, what she understands by leadership. We go down memory lane. Okay, I think she's back on. So this for this particular content, we'll be meeting. Currently, we have 7 outliers, or recently 8. We got a new member of the family 3 days ago from, okay, Dr. Nancy, are you back?
Yes,
Hello.
I'm back.
All right, so I said maybe the network too is having some few false subsidy effects. So it's fine on a lighter note. So may we know you? Let's hear from the horse's mouth. Introduce yourself to our audience. Dr. Nancy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, go ahead. Introduce yourself. We want to meet you.
Okay. So I am Dr. Nancy Amy Otu, and as Dr. Tumsia said, I am the outlier from Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike in Abia State. It has been a 1-year journey as an outlier, and I am currently working with Farmalat. Okay, so I was into leadership in school, and I served in various capacities as vice president, as assistant course rep, somehow as course rep, and then I represented the class in AVMS activities here and there. So it has actually been a whole lot of leadership for me from school. And then now I'm in Farmalat, and in Farmalat here, I'm also holding.
So I think Dr. Nancy's network is not at its best, but regardless, we'll just exercise a little patience while she comes back on. So we're getting to meet Dr. Nancy. We have questions for her. I'm sure most of these nuggets will be taken by aspiring veterinary students, not just in Nigeria, but all over the world, right? Who doesn't want to be recognized as a leader? Who doesn't want to lead change? Who doesn't want to, you call them change makers, you call them leaders, right? So we need somebody to hold on to the torch. You know, somebody has to lead the way. You know, we all just can't sit down and lament over the problems without anybody. And even if, you know, we're able to come up with solutions, we need somebody to lead the team. We need somebody to steer, you know, the direction. We can't just all move around like heedless. Let me stop there. So while we await Dr. Nancy's,
I am back.
Okay, so I think your network is facing
My network
the subsidy very well.
this whole thing today.
Exactly. All right. So yeah, we can pick up from where you stopped. You were talking about where you are currently.
Okay, yes. So I'm with Farmalat, and here in Farmalat, I'm also holding some leadership positions. So it has been a quite amazing journey, quite amazing 1-year journey here in Farmalat as an outlier. And aside from being an outlier, I'm also now an associate actually. So that's what we call it here in Farmalat. So that's that.
All right. So you mentioned you were assistant course rep at some point. You were the course rep, and then you also assumed some AVMS related roles. And what's your position in the family?
I'm the first daughter.
Firstborn, first daughter, which you have elder brothers?
Yeah, no, just one elder brother. So after him, it's me. So I also assumed the position of a second mother. So it's more like a leadership role also at home and all. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, initially I talked about leaders being born, leaders being made. Sometimes due to our roles in different capacity, we're forced, we're not forced, we don't have a choice but to lead, right? Because we have, you know, people who are looking up to us. So we can't just flop, you know, we have to own up that leadership role. So,
yeah.
You know, meeting you as a Farmalat outlier, so I really want to, you know, the discussion is going to be centered around your leadership, your role as a leader while in school, right? So we're going to focus our discussion on that. So before we delve into that, I want you to, what does leadership mean to you? What generally, like, what does leadership mean to you?
Okay, so in simple terms, it's supposed to mean somebody who leads the others, right, to a particular destination, or someone who leads a team to get or achieve a particular results. Someone who could be held accountable. But now I'm going to twat it a bit because just recently I got a different view of leadership. So I think I agree more to that because it's what I think leadership should be.
You
so I'm
relate,
going to
you
twat
can
it to say
relate,
that
you
leadership
can
is
relate
actually
better to your
someone
view.
who follows a group of people or a team. So he or she is following them and then pushing them to a certain destination that they have sat down or discussed and agreed to have a particular result. So the person is following them and then making sure that that particular result is gotten. So for me, it's now followership, not leadership.
Mm. All right, perspectives differ, right? So with this, your understanding of leadership, do you think there's a difference between leadership and management?
Okay, so yes, a bit, just a little bit different. So when you say management, you are literally not allowing other people or the team that you're leading to showcase what they have, because you're managing whatever it is. You're not giving them the freedom to actually. You might actually realize that in management, people don't have. You as the leader won't even notice that the team you're leading have more to offer. So, but when you're leading as a leader, I think it should allow the opportunity for people to actually showcase what they have. So you get into their ideas, you pick up what they have, you think through it, you review it, and then you pick what should actually be the best. Like, so as a leader, you should be able to do the thinking, you should be able to do the reviews, and then you should also be able to understand that there's a result, and then that is where everything is headed to. So the result, whether it is positive or negative, you actually know there's a result because everything is experiments. So in the experimentation, there should be a result. Now, the result is what everyone doesn't know, if it's going to be positive or negative. But you as the leader, what you have to do is think through, do the reviews, and then make sure that while on that journey to getting the result, you're making use of everybody. So it doesn't have to be like it's solely you. You're just there, like using your own brain. So most times, I will always say that most times the leaders are not even the smartest in the room. Like they actually just have to sit down and listen to what every other person has to say. And then when they are done talking, you can now put everything together and then make up what it should be. So leadership and management has a little difference.
But do you think both complement each other? Like on a team, there needs to be a leader and there needs to be a manager, right? Anyways, let's keep that aside.
So there should be a connection between both. So while leading, you should be able to also put together everything to turn out to be management. But don't make it totally a management kind of thing where you just, let me use the word micromanage, because if you're just managing without the good leadership qualities, you're going to be micromanaging people. So, but when you're able to combine both, that micromanagement just disappears because everybody it's free to exercise or say what they want, and then everything is put together to achieve the results.
All right, I'm sure our audience there, who we're expecting majorly are veterinary students, right, who are eager to hear how you were able to do this. So let's delve into those, let's delve into the real discussion here. Let's go down memory lane, right? So from your first year through your 6th year, can you tell us, in bits. I want us to clearly, the roles that you assumed while in school, right? You mentioned them, but can we get them? And then at different points, at different times, I want to understand how you were able to do it, how you were able to balance the leadership role with the academic requirements, with the academic, in the academic environment, especially ours as veterinarians. So I want us to know, so this is where we'll be getting the nuggets from, right? let's say from your first year, you were the assistant course rep or you were the course rep. What were your roles? What were your expectations? And how were you able to deliver those expected roles without tipping, the scale, without affecting your performance academically, right? So so that we'll get those tips. And then finally, we'll come and talk about the big one. I think let me not say it. So let's start from your first year. Did you assume any leadership role in your first year in school?
Yeah, so in my first year, that was when I was elected to represent the class as actually we call it AVMS ECHO, that is the electoral process team. So in my first year, I represented my class in that community, and I had to, join in preparing for the elections and all to make sure it was a success till we got the leaders for that particular set. So yes, in my 100 level, yes, I did have.
So do you feel at some point, the way you carried yourself at that point, representing your class in that capacity, where you are right now, how would you grade your performance back then, your first year?
So it's a lot different now, because while I was in 100 level, I can categorically say I had not read a lot of books. In fact, if I had looked at books, it would have been maybe just because my dad was forcing me to look at books, because my dad loves reading. But now, where I am now, I actually say and I pick up leadership books to look at it, and then I read through and keep them and then think through it to understand what they actually mean. So the timing, like I have done it, I've changed a lot. So I would actually grade, if I'm to grade from 1 to 10, I'll grade now. But I'll even give now 20, and then I'll give them 1, because
that's
a
wide.
lot. So
that's wide.
Yeah, reading.
So now you feel, now it's more with you're more intentional about being a leader, about grooming yourself to be a leader. And that's why you're reading all the books, searching for the knowledge,
exactly.
Seeking mentorship and or what have you not. So we're done with the first year in school, right? So at any point, did that role as a member of the electoral selection committee, sorry if I'm calling it that, I didn't get the name completely, but I'm sure I'm still in check. Did it at some point affect you academically? Because I want students to understand, like students and other people listening to understand that, because for me, I was the deputy class rep back then in school, but I was afraid to take up any other thing because I just felt all I was in school to do was to study and become a veterinarian and possibly get a job in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Abuja. That was just it. So I was the assistant class rep, but that was just it. I was not interested in AVMS related issues. I'm not sure then if IVSA had started or any other thing. I just was not interested because one, we just were scared of how it will affect us academically and if we would even have enough time, right, to balance our academics and then taking up leadership roles, right? So did you at any point feel like it affected that role that you played? Did it affect you academically, yes or no?
No, it did not. It did not.
So let's get the nuggets from there. So what did you do? How were you able to balance it? We're going to be picking out the nuggets from different stages so that different students at different levels are listening to you and taking tips from this thing that you're saying.
Yeah, okay. So for 100 level, when I came in, right, I was already thinking I was not even going to do vets somehow because my dad actually asked me to do veterinary medicine. So in my 100 level, I was already thinking I was not going to do it. But then when I took that role, this was it for me. I already knew before time that academics is important because if I go back home and tell my parents I failed the course, like it was going to be war. So I had my timetable. So I could be in a meeting now. Maybe let's say the electoral committee, they were meeting at 4 p.m. And then I actually know that lectures are going on by that 4 p.m. And also, maybe after 4 p.m., people will be preparing for tests or other things that they want to prepare for. And then they'll also be preparing for the next lecture time. So now, for me, what I did was have a timetable. When others are reading, I might be in a meeting. But once they are sleeping, I am actually reading. So you could see me playing at this minute, or see me talking or doing politics at this minute, and then the next minute you don't even know where I am, and then I am reading.
So you were smart enough
because I know how best school is, nobody's going to help you out. So I mean, you have to do it yourself. So it was the timetable for me in 100 level, because I just had to streamline how it works for me. So I go to lectures when I don't have lectures, somewhere reading, or I actually go to have my meetings. But once I'm done with my meetings, I know when to rest. I know when to go meet friends. I know when to discuss other issues that are not academics. And then I know when to discuss academics. And actually, I had friends, because I was missing classes a lot. From my 100 level, I was missing classes. Like, I didn't have a note. So, but I had a friend who I knew would not miss any class, and she would not miss copying a single note. I knew her notes were going to be complete. You will not miss a single sentence in any of her notes. So I had her as my friend. So I was using her notes. So once they are done with class, what she does is photocopy that part of the notes and send to me.
Somebody sounded like a rogue in 100 level.
Actually, from my 100 level, that was how it was. So, because this is me being like, from my 100 level,
this is you being honest, because I understand, of course, sometimes when you don't, it's not like you want to do something, you're just asked to do something before you finally align your brain to say, okay, this is the reality. Let me just do the needful. Like, I'm here to stay, right? Exactly.
So I was not into so because I want to pass, I would that was working for me, but it may not work for every other person. So every other person should actually know what works, because I also had a friend who could not use somebody's note to read. So if you copy a note and it's not her handwriting, she won't read it. She won't even understand the notes. So she was also always in class. So
number one nuggets. Know what works for you as an individual.
Yes, at every point in time.
Don't follow the crowd, right?
Exactly.
Know what works for you as an individual. So you see one nugget out of your leadership experience in your first year. So let's move to the second year. Did you assume any leadership role in your second year?
In my second year, I
missed some parts. How were you selected for that leadership role in your first year?
Okay, it actually was also by nomination. So you nominate, and then after the nominations, they will be voting. So I was nominated and then voted in.
So for your 100 level, already people had confidence that you were already displaying leadership traits, right?
So I think as at then, because it was second semester, as at then I had already made moves here and there, and then I had made them understand that, okay, so this is what I want. So how do we do it? Like, it's the politics. So you have to also play politics to actually be part of that. So I had to play the politics here as at that time.
All right. So nice one. So your second year, did you assume any leadership role? And now it's not just going to be school, right? Even if it's in church, or maybe in an NGO or somewhere you're volunteering, just basically in whatever capacity you assumed, in whatever capacity, right? Whether it's in the church or is in school or at home, if there are leadership roles that you assumed in that particular year, and how you were able to manage it, not to affect you academically, because of course you are here today as a beautiful doctor. So we know you were able to manage both, right? So let's take it. Second year.
No, there was no active role. for second year, no active role. Though I tried being the person to represent our class again, but then a friend of mine just told me that he was interested in it, and then we had to talk about it, and then I stepped down for him.
Nice one. That's selfless of you. That's really thoughtful of you. Some people would allow something like this come in between friendships, and I think valuing and understanding, you know, the valuing and understanding your relationship with people also matters, and I feel it's a great quality for people who, right, people who are leaders, right, to know when to step back, to know when to value your friendship over mere leadership roles, right? So for me, I think it's a great quality as an individual. Like, some people wouldn't have allowed something like that happen. They're like, you're interested, I'm also interested, may the best man win, right? Though I feel something like that, you know, usually gingers up some level of, without emotions though, but if we allow emotions get into it, then it's just problem. But that's aside. So in your third year, was there did you assume any leadership role?
So in my third year, no active leadership role.
Okay. Fourth year. So your second and third year, you were purely academics, right?
No, not really, but it was just not school related, and then it was not leadership related, but I had other things I was doing.
You had other activities going on. Okay, going on. Yeah. Okay, so let's focus. I don't want to do big one and move out of why we're here, right? So let's focus on your leadership roles, because people who are interested want to know how you did it. And I've taken note of the first nugget: time management, and then know what works for you, which is very important, right? So in your fourth year, we're done with the third year, there was no active leadership role. But other than AVMS, were there other active associations in your school, like other, you know, there are other campus communities?
So I was actually active in the SUG.
Whoa, you're a senior woman. SUG? Okay.
Yes, I had comrades. I was.
So you're a comrade.
Them, so yes.
So you're a comrade. Can you hear me?
Yes, I did.
So I said you're a comrade. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
I said you were a comrade.
Actually, yes.
Hey, senior woman.
It's someone like that.
We didn't even do AVMS. So we didn't even think about SUG. Though for my school, I just felt that for the SUG, we were leaving it for the other people in the other campus, because our campus was just academics centered. It was just book focused. And we just felt that people were witch hunted if they decided to put their legs in politics or assume leadership roles. So I think that was there was this traditional belief that actually scared us from, you know, delving into, yes, association activities and even assuming leadership roles. So let's move. Fourth year. What happened then?
So I think fourth year was when the whole leadership team became more active, because in our fourth year, by then we had started pathology. That was in 300 level, second semester. So it pushed a lot of people out of the class, and also in our 400 level, I became the assistant course rep.
Okay, assistant course rep. So how was that? Were you elected? Let me see. Were you nominated? Was there an election process? Like, how did you emerge the assistant course rep?
There was an election, actually.
People seem to like you.
Sometimes it's not all about liking, it's all about interest. So sometimes they just know who has their best interest at heart, and they let go of.
So people don't necessarily have to like you.
Yes, to actually nominate or elect you as their leader. They just need to know that, okay, you are capable of taking the responsibility and the roles that come with.
If you allow me to come in, I will say your classmates are objective, because you don't in our climb here, I'm not sure if people are objective with their selection for leaders, right? People are always inclined towards some emotional, sentiment,
no,
right?
no. Because I'm not. I think I can actually actively say that most of my classmates were not. They didn't really
They were
like
not
me. Like
driven by their
they
emotions.
were not. So we're not in friendships that much. But I in when the elections were done, I came out, and when they nominated me, I left. And then after the elections, they said I won, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like we could
All right,
do
let's
it.
get down to work. So
Yeah,
what were your roles? What were your responsibilities as the assistant course rep? Can you just list them?
So as assistant course rep, I was actually supposed to take care of so making sure that our lectures are taken when they are supposed to be taken, reminding the lecturers, then our notes, making sure they are updated by our lecturers, because sometimes it's not called in the class, and then the lecturers may have assignments. You have to remind your classmates to do the assignments. You have to submit it when the time it's due, because in vet school, is either you're submitting or you're not submitting. And once the timing is wrong, everything seems to be they will just cancel everything. So because of that, you have to be very timely with such things. And then you also have to be political about a few things, because sometimes you actually have to do a lot of talking for the lecturers to understand where the students are coming from, because sometimes you have test schedules and then the students are telling you they are not ready, and you're like, so what is supposed to happen? So now nobody is going to go to the lecturer to say we are not ready. They are expecting you as the leader to actually go and do that talking and come out and tell them that the test has been cancelled, those kind of things. And then
So there were a lot of expectations.
Exactly. So, and once the expectations are there, you have to actually meet up. Though I had the course rep then, and then, that was when the whole thing, because the course rep then had actually been the course rep from our year one. And then when we were in 400 level, everybody, I think a little bit of here and there issues, and then he wasn't really stable. So it was literally like taking up the assistant course rep role was more like taking up the course rep's role.
So you were the one actively coordinating the activities of the class.
Every activity of the class was literally done by me. So I just had to do it, because if I didn't do it, then the whole class was going to actually reap from whatever that was. So I had to be active in doing it.
So what was your relationship like with your colleagues? Was it cordial? Was it rough?
It was mixed. Sometimes cordial, sometimes very rough, sometimes rough, sometimes very sweet, because like we actually had, so in fact, when I was leaving, I tagged my leadership in school. I saw it all. Like there's a write-up I did on that. I saw it all as a leader. Like that's what I thought. Like it was everything.
Do you mind? I need to come in. Would you mind, because we have an active blog post, like an active blog post on Parmalat website, and I'm sure it's going to be like an amazing content. If you don't mind, maybe after this, we're going to have a chat to see if we can actually, give this piece to people to read, like especially veterinary students. You saw it all, so I'm sure everybody will want to relate to that. Everybody want to read and know what is it that you saw, because for somebody to say I saw it all, I don't even want to imagine. So like from what I got here, you had to be, there was need for you to be diplomatic, right? Because your classmates are not ready for their side, they're not ready for their tests, the lecturer is ready, so you needed to communicate. You needed to make sure you protected the interest of your classmates, and make sure at the same time you don't offend your lecturers, right? So you were in the middle, and it looked like you did a good mediation, like you did a good job, right? So part of this tips that one needs to have is good communication skills. Am I right? Good communication skills. You have to be diplomatic. You have to have amazing, good human relation, because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with different polarities here. some of our classmates are, some of them are sane, some of them are gaga, some of them are bipolar. So you have to be able to manage all these people. So you don't, you don't let it not look like you're sectioning the class and agreeing with a group and disagreeing with another group, right? Exactly. So now we have know what works for you, good time management, be diplomatic, good human relationship, amazing communication skills, right? So we've gotten that part. So was it in your 4th year that you assumed a role with the student union government? For those who are for those who are non-Nigerian and are watching this, when she said she was part of the SUG and I called her a comrade. So the SUG basically stands for the Student Union Government, right? So this is the body in the university, a body of students that they face the lecturers, like they stand for the students. So they're the governing body of the students. So Dr. Nancy here happens to be part of that that group. You assumed a role with the SUG. I hope I'm not getting
so I partnered with the association, that is the Student Union Government, to actually achieve some of my how do I put it now, my results while being vice president. So I had to partner with the SUG vice president, and we collaborated, and then we got something out of it.
Talking about collaboration. All right, so let's move to your 5th year. We're done with the 4th year. That was when you assumed the role of the assistant course rep. And some of the tips we got there, I mentioned earlier: good human relationship, amazing good communication skills, diplomacy. What else did we mention? I'll just put them down. Okay, know what works for you. That was from your 1st year, right? So now let's move to your 5th year. So what was the role you occupied then? You're laughing. That was when the real action started. Oh my God, I can't wait to hear it. This is like the 2nd time, but I can't wait to hear it again.
So that was when I assumed the position of the vice president of Association of Veterinary Medical Students in Umudike. And the experience was everything. Because so that was when the first time I was assuming or taking a leadership role, and I was scared that I had lost control of the balance between my academics life, my political life, my social life, and like I was in the middle of nowhere. I had to find myself. That was when the whole I think the bulk of the leadership thing was actually my 500 when I assumed the position of the vice president. Because I had a team, and then the team had how do I put it now? The leaders then, between them, there were little issues here and there, so we were not agreeing with ourselves. So it caused a lot of issues, and then when the issues escalated, it got to school management at some point, because we had lost some students, and in the course,
when you mean lost students, what happened? What's lost? Like they left the school, or what happened?
No, not really. Actually, so they died. Yeah. So, and it's actually not a story I like to share.
Exactly.
Yes. So, but they actually died in the process of the whole thing. So it escalated, and then it got to school management, and then at some point they actually banned the association, and I think that was where my whole comradeship
that was when the Aluta spirit. That was when the Aluta spirit came. For those of us who understand, the slogan for SUG is Aluta Continua, Victory Asata. Let the struggles continue. Victory is certain. I think Dr. Nancy's network is. Let's give her a few seconds to see if she comes back on. I'm sure she will. Let's give her a few more seconds. We intend this be like an hour. But if it's 5:45 by my time here. So but if we go beyond 1 hour, I think it's still fine. We're picking some few important leadership lessons from Dr. Nancy Enieto, who is the pioneer outlier from Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike. So let's wait for her as she gets back on. Guess she's having some few challenges with her network. You know, when I get to talk to, talk about life while in vet school, or talk to people about their life back then in vet school, like it reminds me and brings back a lot of memories of how, we were able to also go through vet school. But when I see what students are doing these days, I just cover my eye and I'm like, Tumsia, you went through school, did school go through you? That question I'm still trying to answer. Like I said, I think mostly what affected a lot of us back then, I love the generation of students, veterinary students we have these days around the world, because I see a lot of activities by veterinary students on LinkedIn. So it's not just a national thing, but at international, it's a global thing. Like, I love their spirit. They are audacious, they're humble, they're innovative, they're creative, and they take up these leadership roles very, very, like when I see the way NAVMS, IVSA, like the way they coordinate their activities, the way they celebrate each other, the way they support each other, I'm like, was it the same curriculum, right? And then you realize it's the same curriculum. But probably, times have changed. And with the advent of COVID-19, I think it changed a lot of things. It changed a lot of things. It changed our perspective on how we see things and how easy and well coordinated we can actually get our activities done without much stress. So, and I think, students nowadays have tools at their disposition, and there is a lot of collaboration at their disposal, and then there are a lot of collaborations going on, and there is this good relationship. Like currently I have an amazing relationship with the NAVMS, which is the National Association for Veterinary Medical Students here in Nigeria, and also the International Veterinary Student Association, the Nigerian chapter. And then they also have sub-chapters in different schools. So like I said, the way I see them take up leadership roles, celebrate each other, they're very intentional about, being leaders, about changing the narrative, because nobody is really happy with the status quo, right? And we cannot remain like that. Something needs to be done. And you do not be afraid to lead that change that you desire. It's not just about desiring it, but be able to come out and lead and start something, Dr. Nancy, do we have you back with us?
Yes, I'm back.
All right, no worries. Where were we, right? Your 5th year. I was just keeping the audience entertained, so it's not, so we just don't need to go quiet. So I was talking about how I am enjoying, the intentionality veterinary students around the world globally are exhibiting, right? In terms of their activities with their local organizations, with their international organizations, and how they're even collaborating. You see IVSA India, you see IVSA Sweden, you see IVSA Nigeria collaborating. So for me, I'm really happy where we are right now, and I'm looking forward to many more of this, change-making scenarios. So we were in your 5th year. You were talking about, an imbalance in social, political, and academic life. And this sounds like what a lot of people actually, this dilemma is what a lot of people find themselves while in school. So I would really love to hear how you were able to balance it, because of course you did. I'm sure it wasn't easy, but you did. That's why you're here today with a VCN number, right? So how did you do it, right? How did you do it?
Yes. Okay, so in my 5th year, as I was saying before, the network cut me out, I was vice president. And then as vice president, the team I was in had their internal issues. So we didn't really agree with ourselves as at then. So because of that, when an issue came in, it broke the camel's back, and nobody was there for the next person because everybody just wanted to save themselves. So our issue got to the extent of getting to the school, and then they set up a panel, and then they were talking about rustication and the rest, and then they placed our association on hold, like they suspended the association and said it was not going to hold anymore. And then so I had the issues of being in class. So this minute you're in class, and then the next minute while in class, there's a message from the school senate, and then they are serving you a letter. Like you're still in class, and then the rest of your classmates are having lectures, and then you're receiving that, oh, Dr. Nancy, you have a letter. Please check with the dean's office immediately. Maybe they will tell the next person because we were in different classes, and then they just tell everybody to check the dean's office. So we were literally almost always at either school senate or at the dean's office collecting the queries that were coming from it and all. And then the association was on hold. So it was at that point that I actually said, I told them
that was the point where your leadership role was truly tested.
Tested. So I told them one of them that I think it would be better they just actually take the certificate than saying the association was never going to function anymore. Because I was very open about it. Like I told them, no, it's fine. Like you can take the certificate, but saying the association wouldn't function anymore would be a whole lot to me, because it would mean that I was going to be the last vice president. So I told them I would rather not have a certificate and just go home than have that. So I kept fighting it. So that was when I had to involve the SUG. And then I had to bring out the leadership strength in me, because if not for the strength, then it would have been a forgotten story. So I wouldn't actually be here. And then because now I still get messages, and then I get invitations that AVMS Umutike is doing this and we want to be part of this and that. And it just makes me happy, because it just makes me see that, okay, actually, after all the battles, you actually won. So for the balancing, I think I had to use my fourth sense to pick the people that were around me at that time. So because if not for those people who were around me and understood what I was going through, I would have actually lost everything. So I had to pick the people I listened to, because if I was listening to just everyone, I would have lost it. So I picked the people I listened to. When they talk, I listen. Like I don't argue, I listen. And these people were not my mates. They were people I knew that were actually experienced, both in leadership and in every other lifestyle. Like they were experienced.
So you were like indirectly getting a mentorship.
Mentorship. Like I just needed that. So I just humbled myself enough to understand that what I needed now was somebody who knows it better. So while doing that, I was also, okay, so they talked me into understanding the fact that in as much as I'm going through the worst phase, that the phase that may take me off, it's when at the end I do not have a certificate. So I was also they were still helping me balance my timing. So this minute I am in Senate answering queries. The next minute I come back and then they ask me to just rest and not talk to anyone. So I go and I rest. Once I'm done with that rest, the next place you're going to see me, it's, in fact, nobody even saw me. Most at that time, a lot of people were not seeing me during the night hours, because that was the only time I had, because I was not attending lectures. I was not copying notes. I was not doing, my social life was at zero. So I had just, I think, 3 persons who I was in close proximity with. Like they were just the ones. So I'm either on the phone with them or I'm in their midst. So it was just about talking with them. Then they tell me what to do and then I do it. And then I plan my timing. After the timing, I think through. And then after thinking through, I still motivate myself, because without me motivating myself, everything would have scattered. Because it's one thing,
self motivation.
yeah, it's one thing for somebody to actually sit down there and be asking and telling you that you can do it. And then it's another thing for you to actually accept that actually you could do it, and that was why you even took the position. So you motivate yourself, they motivate you, and then you balance both, and then you just realize that you can actually do it. So a balance between both. Then you practically plan everything. That was when I actually realized it was better to be a good listener than a good talker. Because while listening, I got the best approaches to handling the situation I was in. I think it was even because of the way I handled the whole situation that I didn't leave school having everyone I served with as enemies. Because I think most of them don't even talk to themselves now. But I think I am still in close proximity to at least more than 50% of the people I served with. Like we talk and then we still share ideas on leadership and the rest. So it's just main thing is mentorship. It was mentorship that saw me that particular phase.
Wow. Nicely said, nicely said. I feel I understand, I won't say I understand. I can't relate because I've never been in such situation. But from what you're saying, it must have been a really tough decision, a really tough time. It was a tough time for you, as a young person who is still, anticipating to finish vet school and then look at this huge, huge challenge right in front of you. But at the end of the day, you were able to overcome it, right? So before we call it, we call it a day, we have just some few more minutes to go. Can you just give us, an idea of how, the feeling? Can you explain how you felt the day you were announced Farm-Alert Outlier?
Okay, so being sincere, I felt very happy, excited.
Okay, let's start from when you got a message that you were up for the interview, right? Before the announcement, right?
Okay.
So how was it when you got the message that you were invited for an interview, after the interview, and then the day you were announced the winner? Like, how was?
Okay, so I think it came in a day before the induction or something. Like it was quite late, and then when I got the call that I should actually just help set up a meeting. I don't know if you remember that conversation. That was the first time I had a conversation with you. Just that I should help, that I would be helping to set up a meeting because there will be an outliers interview and there will be an award. And as at then, I didn't know there was even going to be any gift attached. You just said that there will be an outliers interview, and also I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. What would you need? And then you just said, I was like, okay, it's fine. I would coordinate that. So when you called, I think a few hours later, and said I would be in a meeting for, I think, 12 to 1 or so.
I think it's 12 to 12:30. Yeah, it was 30 minutes. Yes.
Yes, it was 12, but I can't remember the time limit. So 12 to 12:30, I was like, oh wow, nice. But deep down, somehow, I actually just felt it that I was going to win. I don't know how, but yes, I did feel, because let me just say, I just felt that I had done a good job with my role, in as much as in my 600 level, it was another bus bozo, because I am leading the class in my 600 level was actually a very tough one, because after then, everybody's wings had opened wider, and then everybody was already tired of school, because we actually spent 8 years in school because of ASU strike and the rest of it. So yeah. So with that, everybody had gone ahead.
Everybody had become senior man and woman.
So it was a very tough one leading in that 600 level, but we still pulled through. We finished up, and then everybody has grown past that now, because our 600 level was actually a very tough one. Like this minute, you're seeing two persons saying, we want this test. And then the rest are saying we don't want it. And then the lecturer is saying it must hold. And then like you have to be in the middle, and then people are thinking you're supporting these ones because they're your friends, or that you're not supporting these ones because you. So it was actually a tough one in my 600. So I was happy they selected me, but I also felt I was going to pick it. But then the people I was with in that were nominated with me were also good leaders. Like I can remember Shibu. Shibu was actually very active in SUG, like very, very active. Then Shadrach was also there. So I knew they were good people. And then I also knew they
So
were
you knew the competition was going to be tough, but somewhere
I
deep
also
down in you still had this confidence
believe
that you would be.
I did that. I did. In fact, I saw it all. That is why I think I just saw it all, and I and I believed I had a story, and or like I just knew I had a story that was relatable, yeah, for a leader. So for me, I was excited being selected, and then after the selection, during the interview, I was
Okay, I think Dr. Nancy's network once again, so we'll just give her.
happy I could flow. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Dr. Nancy, we can hear you. Dr. Nancy, loud and clear, we can hear you.
Okay, so when I was selected, I felt excited. Then during the interview, I was happy. Like I was myself, and then I just felt I had told my story the way it was, and it was sincere. And also I was very comfortable having the interview and then sharing my story with every one of you then. And then after the interview, when I got a message from Dr. Kayode then that I should send a picture of myself, and that this was him as a then sending his congratulations to me as the first outlier and all. I felt boom, that is it. I just felt, oh, finally, I get a reward for not being a straight student. And sincerely, I was not also the very religious type. So I was more like academics, politics, and then my other social life. So I was like, oh wow, finally, if I'm not getting a reward for academics because I decided not to be serious. I'm sorry, not that I was not serious, but then I was serious. So, but then I knew I was not going to get any academics related certificate. I was excited that I was getting one for leadership, and leadership was actually the main thing for me. I didn't really care much about academics, but I cared about leadership. I cared about what the people I was leading were going to say at every point in time. Like I cared about our results at every point in time. Let me not say what they were going to say. I cared about our results at every point in time. So I was happy I got a reward from Pamela for that.
All right. So I'm glad to, like, I think I can remember that time. It's been over a year now, but it still feels like yesterday. Currently we have eight.
Zero naira in my account, and then coming out from the induction hall with 100,000 naira. Like
yes, and it's true. The award for the outlier, it's 100,000, and then it paid 1 month internship with Parmalat.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was actually a very wonderful one for me. Then from there I had to visit Lagos for the first time, and then Lagos was everything beautiful. So going to Lagos, I was telling somebody just a few days ago that it was in Lagos that I knew vet medicine could become so much into technology, because I visited a farm and I saw technology in use. So if you're a veterinarian in such a farm and you are not into technology, you literally go nuts, because everything there was technology. I went to Truth Mouse, and then I realized they don't just go about treating patients. They actually make use of technology. So if you're not
you came to Lagos and you were exposed to veterinary medicine, leveraging technology to deliver. Yes.
It was actually a very beautiful experience for me. Yeah.
I'm glad, right? I'm glad you had all these experiences transitioning from school to joining Farmalat as an outlier, as an intern, and then now as a staff with Farmalat. We have currently 8. We have a community of outliers. We're trying to, we're building a strong community of leaders, right? So we currently have an addition to the family, in person of Dr. Benga, Toyosi, who is who just recently got awarded for the outlier, who got recently awarded as the outlier from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, that's FUNAB. So we're going to be bringing more of these outliers on. We're going to have one episode per month. We're supposed to have this episode last month, but due to some few situations beyond our control, we had to move it to today. So we'll be having the second episode of this Leadership Nuggets with Farmalat Outliers this month, and it will be coming soon. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. So before we get there, Dr. Nancy, what are your final, words? We're talking about Leadership Nuggets. So what are your final words for those listening out there, veterinary students who aspire to, become an outlier, and, across the world generally, not just in Nigeria? Go on.
So for me, this is what I would tell everyone out there. Get involved in leadership. So it's not because you even want to be an outlier, but get involved in leadership, because leadership is where success lies in. So there is no success story without a leader. So everyone should be involved in leadership. So get involved in leadership. Being in vet school doesn't mean your life should revolve around a book that has needles and syringes written everywhere, and then volume and weight and all. So get involved in leadership and be active. Leadership is everything. If you're a good leader and you're into leadership, you would actually know how to manage everything and then still get the academics in check, because leaders don't leave some parts of their life out. They actually arrange every part of their life. They focus on every part of their lives to make sure they're in check, because they know they are leading, and then while leading, people are looking, and then some people learn from what they are seeing, and also just get involved in leadership. Leadership is like.
All right, so I hope we got that. And for me, I was writing some of the nuggets she was dropping in between, the conversation. She talked about self-motivation. You should be able to also balance your social and academic life as a veterinary student. Do not allow your life to revolve entirely around your academics, and, get involved in association activities, get involved in community service, get involved in, there are a lot of campus communities, right, coming up right now. Have good time management skills, know what works for you. This was what, this was what helped her balance her time in school during her first year. Know what works for you during her first year as the member of the electoral selection committee. Have good human relationship, good communication skills. Of course, you need to also be diplomatic, because you need to be in between your classmates and your lecturers and make sure that at the end of the day, everybody is happy, everybody is well respected. Also selfless. At some point, Dr. Nancy was ready to give up her certificate, as her certificate, like this is what she has worked for from her first year till that point, that, it was almost taken away from her. Because all she wanted was the AVMS to stand, and now she's happy that, the AVMS in Michael Okpara University still stands today, thanks to the selflessness of Dr. Nancy and, of course, other of her team members. Keep good and supportive people in your circle, right? She mentioned, the people around her were a source of strength and a source of encouragement for those trying times. Mentorship, very, very important, right? She did a lot of listening. She said, do a lot of listening and less talking. So as a leader, that's a very good character. That's a very good trait, sorry. You listen more and talk less, right? So Dr. Nancy, are you still here with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I just listed out some of the nuggets I picked in between our conversations. And I mentioned earlier, you said you had a short write-up. I saw it all. I'm sure if you won't mind, we could also share that on our blog, and people could go through it so they could relate to this, your story, better, right? So I think this brings us to the end of this episode. We'll be bringing on next another outlier. I won't divulge the name, of course, so we're going to have the person, of course, our flyers will be out very soon. And I'm sure we're all excited to meet our outliers, to see what, their colleagues saw in them, because they were nominated by their colleagues and then were interviewed by the Farmalat management team. So the world will love to see that leadership, innovative and creative trait that we saw and your colleagues saw in you too. So Dr. Nancy Enieto, thank you so much for sparing our time to be here with us today. To everyone who streamed in live to watch, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, to share, and also to subscribe so you stay updated with our content upload. You don't miss out on all the interesting contents we put up. Thank you so much. I am Dr. Tumsia Maimunaman Isa, Community Engagement Manager for Farmalat and the host for this show, for this online discussion. Thank you so much. Stay blessed, everyone. Bye.